to take us to the end of what I think was probably the wildest first half in the NFL in the first 6 weeks of the season by far.
The Spencer Rattler hype train was going wild, but then everything collapsed for the New Orleans Saints against the Buccaneers in the second half. Now fans are wondering if the season is over, especially with Derek Carr currently injured. Going into this game, Spencer Rattler was named the starter, of course, and the hype was absolutely wild. By the way, Derek Carr is set to miss at least 4 weeks, this week included. That could be really rough for the New Orleans Saints, but you had people like Ari Mirov of 33rd Team, NFL insiders saying that, hey, if Spencer Rattler takes this opportunity and does something with it, it's a real possibility and a likelihood that Derek Carr may be done in New Orleans. That's what a lot of people are saying. You saw the NFL media world really hyping up Spencer Rattler. Ian Rappaport talking about his confidence and swagger going into this game as he interviewed Spencer Rattler's college coach from South Carolina before the game. Even had Louis Riddick of ESPN say time to shine and tag Spencer Rattler. The NFL media world really wanted to see this guy do well, and so did the New Orleans Saints, of course, because he is a young quarterback on a rookie contract, and you saw them posting hype videos. He is going to be QB1 for the next 3 to 4 weeks, regardless of what happens here going forward. And for the beginning of the game, there was a possibility that he could be the guy until things took a sudden turn. Remember, Spencer Rattler appeals to a lot of Saints fans because he does look like a low-budget Temu version of Patrick Mahomes. You had defensive tackle Colin Saunders talk about the fact that the QBs look alike.
Yeah, they are. I mean, outside of obviously how they look, they kind of look like each other, but no, Spencer does. He has a quality of just playmaking ability.
And in the first half of this game, he looked like a mini Mahomes, but then quickly in the second half turned into the Temu version. Remember, the Buccaneers are coming off of that high-scoring game that went into overtime against the Atlanta Falcons, where Kirk Cousins of the Falcons put up over 500 yards. Baker Mayfield was able to score as well, but you thought this would be a game that's easy to score for the New Orleans Saints because the Buccaneers have a banged up defense. Well, the Buccaneers offense got the ball to start and marched down the football field, scoring easily against this top-ranked Saints defense. This quickly put the Saints offense with their rookie quarterback on their heels. So Spencer Rattler, in his first drive of his career, threw a completed pass to Chris Olave, but he unfortunately fumbled due to a helmet-to-helmet hit, and this was a fumble recovery for a touchdown for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It was actually pretty suspect that the referees did not call helmet-to-helmet here. It was clear helmet-to-helmet on Chris Olave. It resulted in a concussion, and Olave ended up being out for the rest of the game, and now he's in concussion protocol and might not make it to Thursday Night Football against the Denver Broncos and former Saints head coach Sean Payton. I thought this was wrong. I thought they should have called the flag, at least gave the Bucs bad field position, but instead it was counted as a touchdown. Then unfortunately on the Saints' next offensive drive in the first quarter, down 14-0 now, they went 3 and out. In my opinion, Spencer Rattler was a little inaccurate on this drive, but he was dealing with a situation where he was already out his number one wide receiver, who the Saints likely game planned everything around. The Buccaneers would go on to get a field goal, and then on the next drive towards the end of the first quarter, you finally saw Spencer Rattler come alive. He made a great scramble for about 16 yards, setting up the Saints to get into field goal range and get on the board, and that's what I liked about this guy. He did not get rattled due to the fact that the Saints were down 17-0 in the first quarter already. Rattler was not rattled yet. We'll talk about when he did get rattled, but he stayed poised and he was able to do what we all thought he would do in this game, which is at the very least, when you're going with the backup quarterback, make some plays with his legs, and that's exactly what he did. Then as the second quarter approached, we saw probably the greatest second quarter of all time in Saints history. I would not be surprised if this is a stat. So the Buccaneers went 3 and out and punted at the top of the second quarter, and who other than Rashid Shaheed returned that thing for a touchdown, bridging the gap and making this a one-possession game. And this would not be the final big play that we saw in this second quarter. Things went absolutely insane here. Baker Mayfield may have had his worst second quarter in his entire career. He had 3 interceptions on the day, and every single one of them came in this second quarter. The first interception, Baker Mayfield tried to hit Michael Evans, but instead, Paulson Adebo picked that off, setting up the Saints in great field position at the Tampa Bay 28-yard line. Now, unfortunately on this drive, Spencer Rattler was sacked. He couldn't get anything going, so the Saints settled for a field goal, but it was 17-13. You saw Derek Carr on the sideline congratulating Jake Haener, keeping his head in the game, and then prior to this game, you actually heard Spencer Rattler in the press conference give a lot of praise to Derek Carr and how he's given him a lot of help going into this game. So still fully involved and still making sure that this guy's confidence is up since the game was getting close. And on the very next drive, the Buccaneers could not even get 2 plays in before Baker Mayfield was intercepted by a former Raider, a former Las Vegas Raider, former first-round pick. Jonathan Abram got that interception, deflected off of the hands of the receiver. Not all these picks were Baker Mayfield's fault, honestly, but nonetheless, that set the Saints up in beautiful field position at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 10-yard line. And all Spencer Rattler had to do was throw up one pass, and he threw up a good one with great zip to Bub Means for a touchdown. It was a great throw, the first touchdown not only for Spencer Rattler's career, but also Bub Means. The Buccaneers did not back down at all, and I have to say, they were able to really move the football in this game against the New Orleans Saints defense. Baker Mayfield had 325 passing yards and on the ground rushing. Between all 2 of their running backs, plus Baker Mayfield and a receiver had some rushes, the Buccaneers had 277 rushing yards against the Saints. Absolutely insane. But they responded with a score of their own, getting the lead back in the second quarter, 24-20. But the New Orleans Saints, with Spencer Rattler, were still able to respond themselves. This is when you saw a beautiful play between Spencer Rattler and Foster Moreau. Foster Moreau made an adjustment on a route. Spencer Rattler was able to find him wide open, and this guy went for a freaking booming 41 yards, setting up the Alvin Kamara touchdown, and that is when you saw the Spencer Rattler hype start to get crazy. This guy was pumped up as the Saints got that lead, 24-27. You saw him hyped up thinking, man, is this really going to be my debut? Are we going to have an absolute shootout in this game? Keep in mind, all of these points were scored before halftime, 24-27. We were thinking this is going to be like the most lit game of the season, seriously. With less than 2 minutes to go, the Buccaneers tried to respond, but that is when you had the Baker Mayfield third interception, this time off of a deflection, and Cam Jordan, the guy who's been criticized a lot because he's getting up there in age and whatnot, he was able to come away with that interception, setting up the Saints nicely at their own 40-yard line with 55 seconds to go, seeing if they can maybe get some points. But unfortunately, Spencer Rattler just could not connect with any of his wide receivers. Rashid Shaheed was still in the game. He tried to hit him on that drive. He was unable to get a connection there. And really, when you watch this game, although Spencer Rattler had some positive moments in the first half, really, he was not accurate on the day at all. He came away with the 60.7 rating, which is lower than any rating Derek Carr has had all year, and he only had 1 touchdown and 2 picks. We'll get into the picks in just a little bit, and he went 22 for 40. So not an effective day through the air for Spencer Rattler, but he was without his number 1 wide receiver, Chris Olave, and the Saints ended up punting, unfortunately, after getting that Cam Jordan interception. They weren't able to do anything with that, and they went into halftime thinking, hey, maybe we can upset the Buccaneers with the rookie quarterback. But the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Todd Bowles, figured something out, and they absolutely had a plan for Spencer Rattler. They saw these numbers. They saw the fact that Spencer Rattler was technically having a more productive day than Baker Mayfield because of those Baker Mayfield interceptions, and they decided to do something, and they made some huge adjustments. In the first half, Spencer Rattler was absolutely insane, and then towards the second half, you saw that completion percentage absolutely go down. And I think once Saints fans started seeing how inefficient the passing game was with Rattler, they actually finally started to notice some of the problems on the Saints team, because usually these Saints fans just blame Derek Carr for everything. But then once Rattler was in at QB, they finally started to notice, whoa, Alvin Kamara only getting 40 yards, 3 yards a carry. That's not good. The offensive line has tons of injuries, especially in the interior. They're letting up a ton of sacks. Spencer Rattler was sacked 5 times on the day, and they really couldn't get anything going, and they ended up being one-dimensional. In the Saints' first 3 drives in the second half, they punted in their first 3 drives. By the way, the New Orleans Saints offense did not score a single point in the second half. Also, they did not score in the first quarter all 27 of their points, 7 of which came on that punt return for a touchdown. It all came in the second quarter for New Orleans. Outside of that one quarter, they honestly had a shitty day on offense and defense. Now, I will say, I think the Saints defense did do a good job for most of the third quarter. They gave up 1 touchdown, but they forced 2 punts, and the Saints offense was only down 31-27 with 50 seconds left to go in the third quarter. This is when you saw the Buccaneers adjustments come alive. They decided to blitz the guy. They decided to give him some pressure, and he was not able to handle it. Spencer Rattler threw his first interception of his career, a pass intended for Rashid Shaheed, and it was significantly underthrown, allowing the Buccaneers to get that interception towards the end of the third quarter. And the Buccaneers responded easily. And this is when they started running the football. This is when they started running the football and being able to do whatever they wanted against the Saints defense. They were able to punch it in for a touchdown and get a 2-possession lead. Rattler knew things were going downhill. He absolutely lost it on the sideline after that interception. In the very next drive they had, when it was 37-27, Spencer Rattler and the Saints went 3 and out. He was just not able to get any production in the air anymore after they made their adjustments. He was looking inaccurate. He was truly looking like a rookie quarterback after in that second quarter he looked like he could be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And after that 3 and out, the game was essentially over because the Buccaneers just ran the football, melted 6 minutes off the clock in the fourth quarter, and then Spencer Rattler and the Saints tried to do something, down 44-27. He ended up throwing another interception. That interception, I thought he was just trying to make a play. It still wasn't a good throw at all. Personally, I thought the first interception was worse. By the way, both of those interceptions were intended for Rashid Shaheed, and I thought this was funny because you finally saw Saints media and Saints fans start to kind of blame Rashid Shaheed, talk about the fact that he's always stopping on streak routes, and I pointed this out last game, but none of these problems are ever seen when Derek Carr is behind center. It's just all Carr's fault. And now you started having a lot of attention turned towards other aspects of this team. Even though I think the quarterback play was not pretty at all in the second half, Buccaneers win 51-27. People started to notice the Saints defense as well. And this has actually been a long-term trend for the Saints defense all year, where they don't give up too many points, but they give up yards. They give up massive amounts of yards. And in this game against the Buccaneers, like we mentioned earlier, 277 yards on the ground they gave up, plus 325. Saints defense against the Philadelphia Eagles, against the Atlanta Falcons, would give up yards, allow them to march down the field, but then get turnovers. And you saw them do that in the second quarter in this game. But once they're unable to do that, you kind of see how there's some leaky things and some big problems, especially when it comes to the run game. They just cannot tackle well. And that was a huge point of emphasis for Dennis Allen in the post-game press conference. And now the Saints are 2-4 right now, with the Falcons 4-2, the Buccaneers 4-2. Albert Breer talking about how the Saints were the talk of the NFL 2 weeks in after they dominated the Cowboys. Now 4 weeks later, they're 2 games behind Falcons and Bucks. This is absolutely horrible. And a lot of people don't make a big deal about the QB change because the Saints fan base, for some reason, I still don't get why. I don't know if it's because Derek Carr is not cool. Maybe he doesn't listen to enough rap music. I don't know why. Saints fans do not like this guy. But when you look at the just straight up numbers, and I had somebody tag me in this, it's actually insane. Clearly, Rattler struggled in the second half, 60 rating, and then 2 interceptions, only 1 touchdown. The guy only had 1 touchdown, and you literally had Saints fans acting like he's the new franchise QB because he completed 1 touchdown. I mean, it's absolutely insane. This is against a Buccaneers defense that let Kirk Cousins get 500 yards. Meanwhile, Carr has not thrown for 2 picks in a single game this year and has never had a 60 rating. He had a close to a 60 rating against the Philadelphia Eagles, and that was the game when they lost Eric McCoy in the middle of the game. And honestly, it was the Eagles defense, a fire defense, not an easy defense like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now look, Spencer Rattler is a rookie. It was his first game. He's obviously going to get better. And I'm honestly not going to let the people who hate on Derek Carr, shit on Derek Carr, make me shit on Spencer Rattler. That's something that is close to happening, can happen, just to defend the guy. But I'm not going to let them do that. I think you can root for both guys. Both of these dudes seem very supportive of one another, but I think hands down, I'll just say right now, Derek Carr would have improved this team, would have helped them get the win, would have been a bigger asset than a liability in this game. And the Saints are missing their franchise quarterback. And for all the people who think that the Saints are just going to move on from Carr and go with Rattler, I don't think that's the case. I mean, even if they wanted to, let's just say Rattler's absolutely amazing. He's the real Mahomes, not a Temu version of Patrick Mahomes. Well, the Saints would just eat so much dead money if they moved on from Derek Carr next year. They would eat about $21 million in 2025 and 28 in 2026 while only saving $40 million. You're basically paying a guy over $20 million a year to not be there. That's just something that I can't see happening, no matter how well Spencer Rattler plays in these upcoming games. So despite the fact that some delusional Saints fans and the NFL media that wants clicks over everything wanted Spencer Rattler to decisively take Derek Carr's job, unfortunately, it did not happen, and I don't believe it is going to happen anytime soon. Spencer Rattler clearly showed that he was still a rookie quarterback in the second half. In the first half of the game, the Buccaneers really didn't know what to prepare for because he was a rookie, but I think now that there's tape on him, things are only going to get worse. So hopefully Derek Carr is able to come back from injury quick. The Saints desperately need him, and honestly, they're at 2-4. The season is slipping away, and we have to wonder, what does the future hold for this team if things go south? Will they just rebuild out of nowhere? I honestly don't think you can blame Dennis Allen for some of the poor tackling by the Saints defenders. That is on the players, and I think they're going to stick with this guy no matter what happens this year. Subscribe to me for more content. Wi-Fi Willie, peace out, and I hope you have a good one.